left there.
Yeah, Jammer thought he'd make it interesting by not catching the kick-off, which, you know, momentum swung in those last few minutes, and I think two of ours, Roger, tried to win it on his own from basically, and he nearly did it. You know, so that's the sort of quality they've got within their team. So I think to contain them throughout the rest of the series like we have for such long and sustained periods of time is great credit. But yeah, a little bit too close at the end, but we got there.
Deserved it, though. It was disappointing to lose narrowly in 2013, then again last year, Steve.
Yeah.
It must be great to win
narrowly. Yeah, it's an incredible feeling. The players are, they deserve it. They completely deserve it. They've worked tirelessly. And it's not exactly the same group of 23, 24 players. There's obviously been some people around, but there's people who've been constants within that. And people before that group as well. You know, you saw Jamie Peacock's, Kevin Sinfields, Gareth Ellis's, John Wilkin, who was floating around, Jamie Jones, Buchanan. People who have really helped establish the England brand, if you like, and really create something what's pretty special inside the group. The success hasn't until this point come for the team, but thankfully, like I said, they've finally got what they deserve.
Sean voted man of the series. Do you think that's a good judge?
Yeah, without doubt. Without doubt. He's incredible. In terms of his application, his performances, just always consistent. You know, he's never, hardly ever fluctuates, you know, in terms of the quality of his performance, and he's had to be a real leader. He's the captain, obviously he's the captain, but he's had to lead up tremendously well, because that is a really young team what's in our dressing room. That is, you know, I think John Keir rolled the stats out before game one on BBC. You know, they had, with all the talk of who was maybe playing or not playing for them, they had over 180 caps and we had 150. They added Alex Glenn and they added Lewis Brown to the group, took him over 200 caps and we were at 150. So to lead a team like that, put his own performances in, but support the personnel around him who are very new to this level, I think it's a tremendous credit to Sean.
You brought in McGilvey and Smith. Were you happy with both players?
I thought they were both tremendous, incredible.
McGilvey looked a bit shot at the end. I thought
he did look shot, yeah. He was out on his feet, but his effort, you know, his effort was great, and he brought to us what I felt we needed. We thought this was going to be another wet weather game. It was going to be an attritional game. It was going to be a fight for field position, and Jermaine's very, very good at getting out of his own end for us. Got us a penalty or two, got some play the balls, and managed to wrestle some momentum back off New Zealand at times for us. And Matty Smith, I think Matt got man of the match today. Was that voted by yourselves? Was it by the press? Matty just helped control that game for us. Kicked really well, and played smart, and yeah, brought others into the game at the same time.
There was also a huge 60 seconds when Jermaine took the catch above his head, and then a minute later
you're at the other end. Yeah, unbelievable. You know, great catch, tested him. He's not the tallest, everyone knows that, but he rose up there, got it. He was assured in everything that he did today, and he's been a really good example of coming into the group, disappointed of not playing, but his application during the times he hasn't been playing gave me so much confidence that if he was needed, that he would do a great job, and he did.
Steve, there's a lot being made of who's not playing for them this year, but with the players you've got to come back into the fray next year as well.
They're the number one team in the world. That team has physically dominated international rugby league for the last couple of years on the physical sense, and we've been able to match that. We've been able to match that 3 consecutive games. I don't think I've seen 3 games with as much attrition in them as them 3, with a 6-day turnaround and a 7-day turnaround, to go at each other like that. At times maybe lacking a little bit of quality in terms of finesse, but the conditions have really dictated that. So for us to go toe-to-toe with them over 3 games with a pack of forwards that, like I said, has physically dominated international rugby league for the last couple of years, we're really pleased with that.
With the players you can add as well.
We've got quality to add to our group. We've got experience. We've got some quality to add to that. We've got a really good bunch in there, young bunch what's ready to play for a number of years. So the signs are pretty strong for us moving forward, particularly now we've got across the line in a major series.
I was going to say, Steve, can it be the start of period of sustained success for the national team.
Internationals is too tough. It's too tough to start making any sorts of statements about being able to dominate for periods of time, because you can't do that. It's, you know, like I said, the team we have just played, like, they have fought tooth and nail against us over this 3-match test series. Australia are a really strong team, as we know, and are making some strides to improve that as well. So we're going to have to keep improving. We're going to have to keep getting better. So I certainly don't want to make any sort of outlandish sort of statements like that. But the promise within our group and the personnel, like you said, that we've already got, but players that we have got to add to that group, is very pleasing for us right now. We have, look, I've said it numerous times to a lot of you, we have very limited numbers to choose from in terms of players that play the game in our country compared to the other two nations, the other two major playing nations. And so to produce the talent that we've got, Sean's one of them next to me, is a great credit to a lot of people involved in our game, from right from the junior levels to the top.
Sean, where does this rank in terms of your achievements, captaining your country to a series win?
I think it's massive. It's massive, and I think as Steve said, then you can't think that it's going to flip and we're going to start winning every time we play. But I think it gives a lot of the boys, especially the youngsters in the side, confidence that they know they can beat the Australians, the Kiwis, and they can come up in these test games and come out the other side and win them. Because there's a lot of boys been involved now for a few years, what have just come short on a number of occasions. So I think the confidence we can take from this is massive.
Steve, you said all the way through the series you didn't want to talk about your own future, then you're in a position now to say whether you want to stay.
No, it's the same as I said before the tournament. Would always get the tournaments out of the way, same as the last World Cup. Sit down and assess it, look at it, and then speak to the relevant people at the due time. That's exactly the same scenario now.
Steve, regardless of the ins and outs about your future in the position, would you like to see more international games being played?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of that. I think it's a very difficult process. In my opinion, there is two big domestic competitions, the NRL and the Super League. And for international sport to flourish, those two major competitions need to speak closely, get the calendars in sync. What does the NRL require? What does the Super League require? And how that can fit together to create an opportunity at some point within that calendar to fit a really strong international series in. I've loved this series. Australia decided not to play this year. We got a chance to play New Zealand back-to-back in a test series, 3 matches, which really tests your will and your character and the strength of your team. So for me, this has been a really pleasing tournament, regardless of results, regardless of us winning the series, that we finally got back to some, back-to-back really tough international rugby league.
Steve, could you just tell us, I know you'll discuss over the coming days and weeks your future ongoing, tell us what it means and what it has meant to coach your country.
It's a huge honour, not just coaching your country, playing for your country, representing your country. You know, Sean's a player, I'm a coach, we've got medical staff, we've got physical performance staff, we've got our kit man who is the kit man for England. He represents England as the kit man. He's the proudest man ever. So regardless of the position what you're in, when you are involved representing your country, it is the finest thing that you can possibly do.
Given the culture that you've built, and given you've got your base now in Burton and all that sort of stuff, that's been really important. Building on one side, but given the near misses you've had on the pitch, where ultimately it matters the most, how important was it that today finally you got over the line and brought on the series?
Well, it was important. I think every time you play, like you said, it's important you win. It was important that we tried to win last year and we just fell a little bit short. It was important the year before in the World Cup and didn't quite go our way. So I understand the sort of questioning on it, but for this group of players and for us and where we sit as an international team, it's about performing and winning as many games as we can at international level, getting as many caps as we can, promoting international sport. That's why back to the France game, which was before this tournament, we needed that to be a test match. We wanted people to get a cap. Players don't get enough caps nowadays, so that international level was important for us. But in terms of this game and this series, of course it was important. They're all important. But for us, it was a couple of so near misses over the previous years. More so for the group, actually, more so for the playing group. I think that was really important for them to get the confidence to get across the line.
Sean, what were your thoughts at the end there when they were sort of coming back with the wet sails, as it were? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, a bit nervy that is, for a few minutes there, but we probably, I think the fact that we got our noses probably 2 scores in from, probably just, I don't know, played into their hands a little bit, but ultimately we did enough to get over the line and to seal it. Again, what was it, 14 points up, something like that. I think it gave us a bit of leeway, which probably, if we hadn't got that, we'd probably played a little bit better than closing minutes.
What did it feel like to score that try on this ground? Sean's put the 14.
It's great to score for your country, but yeah, to do it here at Wigan as well was huge, and to kind of give us that bit of a gap in that breathing space as well. It was kind of game over at that point, so it was a good feeling.
Sean, would you hope to still be captain of the side in 2 years' time with the World Cup?
Yeah, but whether a captain decide or not, I'll always want to play for England up until Steve doesn't want me to play for England. I'm not good enough to be playing for England. I'll always put my hand up and I'll always want to be part of it. And I feel like we've made some massive strides forwards under Steve. That build up to the World Cup was huge. And I thought even though we come a bit short in the World Cup, it was a great process building up to that, and kind of changed the culture of the England setup. And I think we've carried on building on that year to year, and not quite got over the line. But I think this just makes it feel like what we have been doing has been the right thing, and we've been kind of chipping away at it. And
it must be great for you after the disappointments of the last 2 years, so narrow, to, as I said earlier to Steve, to get on the right side of the result.
Yeah, everyone involved with whether that's coaching, playing, our backroom staff. Everyone works hard to ultimately get results on the field. And yeah, it's disappointing when you come up so short, but yeah, to get over the line as we have done today just makes it feel like we have been doing the right thing, and it's been working out for us.
Steve, I imagine the Canberra fans who got up early this morning to be excited about Elliot Whitehead.
Yeah.
What can you say a few things about him?
Yeah, Elliot's it's progressed really well. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he plays in the NRL this year. I think it's a really good challenge for Elliot. I think it's one that he needs. Again, came into the group last year, got a good feel of it. Was disappointed he didn't get as much game time as he would have liked last year, but came back stronger this year. Got his starting spot this year. I thought it was a real difference when he came back on in his second spell. I thought the first 20 minutes of that second half, we were in all sorts of bother at certain stages. We were hanging on, we were defending desperately, but we couldn't get any field position, couldn't get any momentum to our game, and Elliot came on and was part of the reason that game started to swing back in our balance. His 2 tries were clear, obviously clear bits to see, but other parts of his game as well, I thought he gave us a real injection. So yeah, Canberra are going to get a good player, certainly going to get a good player.
It was surprisingly flat in the first 20 minutes of the second half, wasn't it? Because the first half had been so competitive and great, really.
Yeah.
And then somehow we just seemed to take a long time to fire.
Yeah, well, they got a grip of the game. It was a bit like the game in the Olympic Park. They just kept us coming off our try line consistently, and so our sets were finishing short of the halfway line, and our kicks were giving them good start positions. And it was like that, and we had to fight and find a way out of that. It can be very, very difficult at times to break that cycle, and that's what good teams do to you, and that's what New Zealand were doing to us during that period. But I think Elliot brought us that little bit of spark. He had a couple of carries, he got hit with an high tackle. I think Jermaine made that catch, like someone else mentioned earlier on, and just a couple of little small things then just brought us back to life.
Do you think he's got the right balance now between Super League and NRL players? Because it's no coincidence that since some of the lads have gone over to Australia, and then you see him now, I can see a real marked improvement. Something like I thought Mike Cooper was outstanding today.
Michael Cooper's been great.
Yeah.
He's been carrying a slight knee since game 1, but he's not winced. He's just got on with it. He was tremendous. He really was good. He has improved outside. Said this all along. It's a really difficult balancing act. It's not for everybody playing the NRL. It's certainly not. And it will improve some, and it might not improve some others. So I think it's always a fine balancing act of we want a very strong domestic competition. It's got to be a priority. Well, domestic competition is our livelihood, it's our lifeblood. That's really important for us. But when our players do go and play in the NRL, they do experience different experiences. They're out of the comfort zone. They get tested in different environments. which in relation when you were playing Test match rugby league, that is exactly what it is. That's uncomfortable out there. That's not a comfortable place to be in the middle of that. In the third test, with 20 minutes to go and everything's happening out there, and it does steal some of our players for that sort of situation. But I will say, I think the change in the domestic competition is designed to help us be involved in more games like that outside. So for me, that was the biggest stride this year, was the change to that domestic competition. I know there's a few little bits of tweaks what people talk about, but ideally that's what it does. It puts players like Shaw, like Wigan, in those situations more often, and you can only get better from being involved in that.
Steve, do you think that when you reconvene, and if you're part of that in 12 months' time, what's going to mean as a legacy, having won the series, going into a Four Nations, knowing you've won a series?
Well, it's interesting because we're on home soil again, aren't we? You know, so I think whereas from the World Cup, where you know we went 12 months before we could play back here again, we're a chance of building momentum again. We're a chance of, you know, getting announced where we're playing, what we're doing, what the dates are, getting it in straight away, getting the support. The support was tremendous today again. Getting on the back of that, there's quite clearly an appetite for international rugby league. Quite clearly there is, and for us as a game, we're going to maximise next year's Four Nations as well. Australia are going to be back in it. New Zealand are going to come back stronger. So I think it's set up itself for a really good competition next year.
Last couple. How important do you think it is, Steve, to maintain this momentum in the World Club Series next year, for example, when the clubs come over?
That's honestly, it's a completely different animal to this. It's
but in terms of the perception of how well rugby league is going,
I understand that, but it is different scenarios. It's club versus club. I think the important thing for me, the World Club Series, is that, you know, 17, 34, 51 players, you know, 3 different groups of 17 players are going to get exposed to a standard what is very similar to that. And for me, that's the important bit, that our players get as much exposure to that across the board. So I think that's a really exciting challenge for everybody else. But yeah, I would dare say that you know, the clubs will be looking at that now. Disappointed not to get the victories last year, and looking at again pushing on this year and making sure that obviously Leeds win the World Club Challenge and Wigan beat Brisbane, and we'll see what the Roosters do with that.
All right, Steve, just to clarify, you're not even saying you want to stay in a role at this point. You're not saying
I've not said that. I've not said. What was your question there?
No, the question is, you haven't even said that you're interested in keeping it.
I've not said I'm not. Okay. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything on it.
Okay.
What I've said to you right from the start is that these sorts of issues for me are things that I'll deal with post-tournament. Always will be. Always speak to the people in charge first, and then we'll move on.
Okay. Can we expect a relatively quick resolution though, so it doesn't drag on?
I'll speak to the relevant people when maybe sober tomorrow. Oh look, these things aren't simple. These things have got a process to go through, and that's how it should be. So I'm in no rush. So.
Thanks, okay, cheers.
Great.
Congratulations.
Cheers. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Good to see you again.
Carter as well. Just.